Hey guys, it is time for reading today, and we are on chapter 15 of Frindle, and it's the last chapter, so we can finish up right before Thanksgiving break. I'm so sad that it's almost over. So without further ado, let's look at our anchor charts real quick. I had so many people message me. Isaac has messaged me just about every day. Brooks has messaged me predictions just about every single day. I actually got something from Rylan, and Rylan, he was like, Miss Simpson, can you add, let's look, can you add be brave to our theme anchor chart? And I said, of course I can, Rylan, and I'm going to give you a ticket for chiming in. So that's something that he thinks that that Nick was having to learn. So today we're going to finish up all of these anchor charts. We're going to finish up theme and characters, character change, all of that. And we will be done with Frindle, and you have a very, very fun activity to do that my group one begged me to do. So let's start reading. Chapter 15, and the winner is 10 years later. Nick Allen was, okay, I'm going to pause real quick. This is the last chapter, guys. Sit back, relax, listen, maybe eat a snack while you're listening to this video, or get a drink or something. Just sit back and enjoy it. I mean, we're almost at Thanksgiving break. You almost get a whole week off. So I just want you to enjoy this video. Okay. 10 years later, Nick Allen was a junior in college, and during November of his junior year, two important things happened. First, Nick turned 21 years old, and the Frindle Trust Fund set up by his father became legally Nick's. Nick was rich. Nick was very rich. Nick was so rich he couldn't even begin to imagine how rich he really was. Nick wanted to give his parents some of the money, which they said they did not need and would not accept, but Nick reminded them that they had always wanted to travel, and they should just think of this as a big birthday present or something, so they accepted. Also, Nick also wanted to give some money to his big brother, James, who said he did not need it and would not accept it, but Nick reminded James that his 2-year-old daughter would grow up and go to college someday, and besides, hadn't James once given Nick his whole baseball card collection? So James accepted the gift. After that, Nick went out and bought himself a fast new computer and about 10 new games and a mountain bike, and then he tried to forget about the money, which is a hard thing to do, but he managed pretty well and kept working on his college degree as hard as ever. The second important thing that fall was the arrival of a package at the door of Nick's apartment. One day, a large, heavy package. It was from Mrs. Granger. There were 3 things in the package. 1, a brand new edition, Webster's College Dictionary. 2, a short handwritten note taped to the cover of the dictionary. And 3, a fat white envelope. Turning the white envelope over, Nick saw the name. His name. He had written it there one September afternoon in Mrs. Granger's room after school, 10 years ago. Nick set the envelope down and gently peeled the note off the front of the dictionary. My dear Nicholas, please turn to page 541 of this book. Nick grabbed the dictionary and leafed to page 541, his heart pounding. And there, between frimmel and fringe, he read, Frindle, a device used to write or make marks with ink. Arbitrary coinage originated by Nicholas Allen, American, 1987. Nick went back to the note from Mrs. Granger. This is a brand new dictionary, the one I recommend that my students use for their homework. And now when I teach them how new words are added to the dictionary, I tell each and every one of them to look up the word Frindle. And of course, I have sent along that letter I promised to give you when our battle was over. And now it's over. Your teacher, Mrs. Lorelei Granger. Nick's head was spinning. With shaking hands, he opened the fat white envelope. He pulled out the 10-year-old letter and he began to read. Dear Nicholas, if you're reading this letter, it means that the word Frindle has been added to the dictionary. Congratulations. A person can watch the sunrise, but he cannot slow it down or stop it to make it go backward. And that is what I was trying to do with your word. At first, I was angry. I admit that. I was not happy to see the word pin pushed aside as if it did not matter. But I guess that if the Latin word for feather had been frindulus instead of pinna, then you probably would have invented the word pin instead. Like the sunrise, some things just have to happen, and all you can really do is watch. The word Frindle has existed for less than 3 weeks. I now see that this is the kind of chance that a teacher hopes for and dreams about. A chance to see bright young students take an idea they have learned in a boring old classroom and put it to a real test in their own world. I confess that I'm very excited to see how it all turns out. I am mostly here to watch it happen, but somehow I think I have a small part to play in this drama, and I've chosen to be the villain. Every good story needs a bad guy, don't you think? So someday I will be asking you to forgive me, and I hope you will. Nick, I know you like to think. Please think about this. When I started teaching, no one had landed on the moon. There were no space shuttles, no CNN, no weather satellites. There were no video cassette recorders, no CDs, no computers. The world had changed in a million ways, and that is why I've always tried to teach children something that would be useful no matter what. So many things have gone out of date, but after all these years, words are still important. Words are still needed by everyone. Words are used to think with, to write with, to dream with, to hope and pray with. And that is why I love the dictionary. It endures, it works. And as you know, it also changes and grows. Again, congratulations, and I have enclosed a little present for you. Yours truly, Mrs. Granger. Nick remembered Mrs. Granger's eyes, and now he understood what some of those special looks had meant. The old fox! She'd been rooting for Frindle the whole time. By fighting against it, she'd actually helped it along. There was a flat, oblong case in the white envelope, the kind of case you get when you buy a watch. Nick pulled it out and opened the lid. Inside was something else Nick had not seen for 10 years. It was Mrs. Granger's favorite pen, her old maroon fountain pen with the blue cap. And under the clip was a little folded piece of paper. It was another note, a very short note, just one word, Frindle. About a month later, something happened over in the old part of Westfield, over where the trees are huge and the houses are small. On Christmas morning, Mrs. Granger's doorbell rang. Mrs. Granger opened the door, but no one was there. Someone had left a package inside her storm door, a box wrapped in green paper with a red bow and a white envelope taped to one end. She smiled as she stooped down to pick it up. As she picked up the package, she noticed a red, white, and blue express mail envelope sticking halfway out of her mailbox next to the doorway. It must have been delivered late on Christmas Eve. She opened the storm door, plucked the envelope from the mailbox, and then shut both doors and went inside with a shiver. Mrs. Granger went across the living room and sat on the couch. The express envelope was from the Westfield School District office. It looked important, so Mrs. Granger opened it right away. It was a letter from the superintendent of schools, a letter of congratulations. A permanent trust fund for college scholarships had been established with a donation of $1 million from one of your former students. It would be called the Lorelei Granger Students Fund. Mrs. Granger was sure it was a mistake or maybe a prank. $1 million? Nonsense. She had the urge to pick up the envelope and give the superintendent a call and straighten this out right away. But this was Christmas morning, and even though the superintendent was one of her former pupils, Mrs. Granger decided to wait a day. It couldn't hurt. Besides, the other package was sitting next to her on the couch, waiting impatiently with its red bow. She opened the envelope first. It was a little Christmas card with a sloppy note, obviously the work of a 5th grade boy. Dear Mrs. Granger, you're one of my favorite teachers. Here is something I want you to have. Sincerely, a student of yours. Mrs. Granger glared at the spelling mistakes, but then chuckled and shook her head. Kids are always the same, year after year. Here she was in her 45th year of teaching, all set to retire in June. She could hardly remember a Christmas day when she didn't have a present from one of her students. Mrs. Granger pulled off the red ribbon and tore off the paper and lifted the lid of the box. She expected to find something made of yarn and popsicle sticks, maybe curly macaroni and glue, but instead she found an oblong case covered with blue velvet. She opened the case, and inside was a beautiful gold fountain pen. She picked it up, and it was cool and heavy in her hand. Words were engraved along the pen's shiny barrel, and Mrs. Granger had to slide down to the end of the couch and turn on her reading lamp. Then she could read the 3 thin lines of type. This object belongs to Mrs. Lorelei Granger, and she may call it any name she chooses. With love, from Nicholas Allen. And that's the end. Oh my gosh. That makes me want to cry, guys. That was incredible. 10 years later, she was actually rooting for him the whole time. All of this, I feel bad because our whole character change was all about Mrs. Granger. And she really changed in the end. So I'm going to put in the middle. She is the villain. In the end, she pretended to hate the word Frindle. and was the villain to see how far this would go. She was rooting for him the whole time. Remember, characters can go through a change. We thought she was mean. And just like I said, like in our synthesizing, like that's what you do when you synthesize. Your brain just constantly is changing and growing, and your ideas in the novel. I would have never guessed that Miss Granger was Mrs. Granger's cheering for Nick. I would never have guessed that, ever. And here we are. I went from it thinking it was a war, they're battling, to at the very end, like she was trying to help him the whole time. So we said, don't give up, responsibility, respectful. He 100% got taught the value of language. He got taught to be brave. He got taught to persevere, which means keep going, keep doing it, never give up. He got taught creativity, to be creative and get out there. Guys, don't let somebody hold you down. If you have ideas and you have dreams and you want to get somewhere, that's kind of what Frindle was teaching us. He was a kid who wanted what he wanted, and he got what he wanted. He came up with the word Frindle. He was creative, and it ended up being something real huge. That's what every teacher wishes, that you guys would take what I say and do something big with your life. And trust me, I know you guys are going to do some great things. So our resolution was the word Frindle was added to the dictionary and Mrs. Granger was happy all along. All of that book, we went through ups, problems, downs, events, all to find out that Miss Granger was cheering for him the whole time. So we went over our synthesizing. We talked about themes, the creativity, all of that. We might want to add on here, I think Mrs. Granger deserves good teacher. I really do think she deserves that title. She was just trying to get him to learn something, right? She was cheering for him, right? I would say she is nice. I think James also told me that I needed to add nice to Mrs. Granger. There's your shout out, kiddo. I forgot to mention it earlier. I think that she is very supportive. She wanted Nick to do good. So there's some physical characteristics of Nick and Miss Granger. Some other things. It's still third person point of view. And I think that is it. So guys, I am so sad that Frindle is over. I have had so much fun reading it to you. But for your assignment today, you are going to get to invent a word. Just like what Nick does, you're going to get to invent a word. So let's read the directions together. And Frindle Nick Allen shocks Lincoln Elementary and much of the world when he comes up with a new word for pen. Now it's your turn. Create a new word for an item that already exists. Your word should be original, which means it should be something completely made up by you. Maybe, who knows, maybe people will start using this word and you'll be like Nick. So I want you to write the old word here, the new word here. So if I was Nick, I would write Frindle, or I would write pen here and Frindle here. Then you're going to tell me what part of speech is your word. Is it a noun, an adjective, an adverb? A noun, remember, is a person, place, or thing. That's most words. Like Frindle, pen, that is a noun. Is it a describing word? Like, did you change the word beautiful to something else? That would be an adjective. Those are the main two. It's probably going to be a noun or an adjective. What other forms of your word exist? So maybe you can Google, or in your dictionary.com, if you look up dictionary.com on Safari, type in your old word and see, is there other words, other forms of the words, like the past tense form of that word? Then, wait, I told you wrong. What other forms of your word exist? So can Frindle? Can it be frindles, plural? Can it be past tense? Is your word a verb? So did you change jump to, I don't know, I can't even think of a word. Did you change the verb to something else? And is there a past tense, jumped, or whatever it is? Put your word in a sentence, and then you have to create a dictionary entry for your word and draw a picture of your word. So a dictionary entry looks just like what Miss Granger sent Nick in the book. So it looks like this. It'll have the word, it'll have how to sound it out, and then it'll have a definition. That's all I really need. The word, how to sound it out, and the definition. And you'll draw a picture of your word. So if I were you, I would go with like a noun, an adjective, or a verb for your parts of speech. So a noun, person, place, or thing. Adjective is a describing word. A verb is an action word like jump, run, splash, yell. Those are all action words. But other than that, I cannot wait to see how creative you guys get. And I cannot wait to see if we all start using some of these words. All right, guys, I love y'all so much. I hope that you have a great day and a happy Thanksgiving and you get some much needed rest. You guys have worked so hard so far this year. I love you guys. Bye.